So what's up, guys? Today I want to talk about female characters within stories, particularly the way in which they're most commonly written and the problems with those ways in which they're written. Now, I know this is probably going to be a bit of a controversial topic with, the third wave feminism and all of that, and I'm just going to start out from the beginning. I mean, no offense, and a lot of these problems do exist with male characters too, but they seem to exist more prominently with female characters. Anyway, to get right into it, the biggest problem I see with female characters in modern stories is that they're written like female characters. And I know that sounds sort of obvious, like, well, yeah, but I'm not saying a female character should be written like a male character at all. I'm saying they just shouldn't be written as female. And this goes for male characters. They shouldn't be written as a male character either. Characters should be written simply as characters. The gender shouldn't be the focus of their existence and the focus of their point within the story. Characters whose identity and mere existence revolves around simply their gender are usually boring and one-dimensional. It's just not entertaining. Now, to break this down, there are really three major problems that this can break down into. The first is that they're often written as trying to make up for the fact that they're female. This is usually done with by making them really badass, and there's no problem with that at all. I have no problem with badass characters, whether they're male or female. The problem is that they overdo it, and you're left with this over-the-top, badass female character. While these types of characters can be fun and entertaining, they are often hard to relate to, and they're not very interesting since they have no difficulty in overcoming obstacles. Anytime they come across something that would be a hardship, the readers or watcher or player, whether it's movie, video game, book, they're never concerned that, oh, how are they going to get through this? They're never curious about it, really. They're just kind of like, okay, here's something, and he's going to do something really cool to get through it. And again, this can be okay, and this can be entertaining, but they're not really deep characters. A great example of a female character written this way would be Buffy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, I know a lot of people out there, including my sister, love this TV show, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just simply pointing out that this is one of those over-the-top badass female characters. She kind of ties in to the third problem I'm going to talk about here in a minute, but I would definitely say she classifies as over-the-top badass. Now, is this because of third wave feminism and people trying to make up for the fact she's female? Honestly, probably not. I don't think so. Well, I think at this point in time that this show was on air is when third wave feminism was starting. However, I think honestly this is just could be chalked up to classic 90s TV action writing, which is to say not the best. The second way in which I often see female characters being written is the complete opposite of the first, and that is that they are soft, they're whiny, and they're overly emotional. Now, this is more of a personal annoyance. I'm aware that some people really like these types of characters and they can connect with them and they feel that pain and everything. I don't. So if you like it, I understand that, I get it. I just don't. So again, this is more of a personal annoyance. But the problem is they never solve any problems. They just sit there and they whine and they cry and things like that. And it is so boring to me. And it often seems like it's written in a way of they're soft, emotional, and whiny because they're female, and they're like, so we have to write them as a female character, and I don't care for it. Now, there are male characters written this way too, and I don't like them either. I just don't care for these kind of characters, but I would say it's more of a problem with female characters simply because you see it more often, and I assume it's because they're female, so people who write them feel like, oh, they have to be soft, whiny, and emotional. And if not, they're usually written the other way, in which they're over-the-top badass trying to make up for the fact they're female. And I say just stop, write them as if they're just characters, don't focus on their gender. Anyway, before I get any more into that, the third problem in which I mostly see with female characters is the combination of the first two. They are both over-the-top badass and emotional, whiny creatures. And I think this is actually the worst form of writing in which way you can write any character, really. But I see it most prominently with female characters. And it's because you have all the problems of being an over-the-top badass characters. You can't really connect with them because they're just relatively shallow. You have all the problems with the emotional, whiny characters, in which, at least for me, they're annoying, not entertaining, and you also gain the problem of now it's inconsistent. Here on one hand, they're badass and they're fighting their way through an enemy. They had a problem, something came up, and they wouldn't murder 30 people to solve this problem. They're over-the-top badass. And then this problem over here happens, and that same character sits down and cries over it. And you're like, wait, what? Here you just killed a bunch of people to solve your problem, and here you're crying about it. It's so inconsistent. So you get both the problems that you have with over-the-top badass characters and super emotional characters, plus the problem of inconsistency. Now, it's fine to have a mix of emotion and badass. That's completely okay, but it has to be consistent, and it can't be at the extremes of either. You know, have a character. In fact, your best characters usually are a mix of these. They can be badass and they can get things done, but at times maybe they struggle with things. They're not just waving their hand and all their problems go away. They have to work at it. They have to overcome something, and that creates an interesting character. And you can have the emotional side of it. Maybe show the difficulty, show their problems and their struggles and getting through and completing this task, and is much more rewarding for the reader or watcher or player because they have watched this character struggle through this and then overcome it, and they're much more interesting. And along the journey, the I would just say the consumer, so I'm not saying reader, player, or watcher. The consumer, the audience rather, is connecting with them through this journey, so it can be much more interesting of a character. Now, there are definitely male examples of all of these characters. There is Jason Bourne from the Bourne series, in which he's just an over-the-top badass. Jack Reacher is another example. And then there's Barry Allen from Flash, which is just the whiniest, one of the whiniest characters I can think of off the top of my head. And I can't stand the TV show simply because of it. He drives me insane. He'll sit out there, and I mean, he's already kind of this softer character, which is fine. You know, that's him as a character. But then he just sits down and whines about things, and I can't stand it. So you definitely see these in both males and female characters. I think they're just much more prominent in female characters, and they're much more prominent at their extremes in female characters. So I can sit down and watch a TV show or a movie like Bourne, one of the Bourne movies, and enjoy it. And I get to see this character run through things and just tear people up. Or like Hardcore Henry, which that was kind of a unique movie in and of itself, simply because it was a first-person shooter movie thing. But anyway, he goes through, and you never really connect with him too much as a character, but it's just fun to see him tear some shit up, and that's fine. It can be entertaining. However, when every story you get into with a set type of character, say in this example, female characters, and this is what you see, it is so annoying. And often you are being preached to. At least I feel like I am a lot of times. When I see a character, a female character that is an over-the-top badass, I'm usually sitting there and I feel like they're an over-the-top badass character because the author is sitting there screaming at me like, she's a female, she can do everything a male can too. And that's, you know, that was me writing, or the author writing. And that's just annoying. Like, I don't like being preached to in any circumstance, even if it's something I completely agree with. I'm not saying I disagree with that. I do believe men and women are completely equal. But, you know, whether it's a topic I agree with or disagree with, I don't like being preached to. It's not why I'm here. I'm not here to be preached to. I'm here to be entertained. So, it's really annoying. I feel like I'm being preached to. However, on the flip side of that, when you've come across a whiny female character, I feel like whoever's writing that is saying, this character is a female, so they have to be whiny, they have to be emotional. Well, that's not true. Women aren't all emotional. I mean, you can have mixes. So if it was, I would say, more consistent, or you had more often these interesting female characters, instead of simply having these consistently badass or consistently super whiny characters, it'd be more entertaining. So when I come across a male character that's over-top badass, I'm like, okay, you know, not super interesting, but okay, you know. Or I come across a whiny, well, male or female, if I come across a whiny character and they're really annoying, I'm probably not going to continue with the series. But if I come across a female character that's over-top badass, I'm just kind of thinking, oh, here we go again, you know. It's just like the last 4 movies I watched or books I read featuring a female protagonist. It's like they're trying to make up for the fact they're female. It's so annoying. That's not to say there aren't good female characters, and I can name a few of them. Basically, any female character in Game of Thrones, they're done really, really well. There's one, I can't remember her name. She's one of the Stark girls. She married Joffrey. I can't remember her name for the life of me. But she was kind of whiny and soft emotional. However, I don't feel like this was done because she was female. I feel like it was done because that was a character choice. The author wanted this character to be portrayed this way. And the fact that you have all these other really interesting female characters kind of proves that oh, hey, the author can write interesting female characters that aren't just trying to make up for the fact they're female, or giving into stereotypes. So I feel like she's there as a purpose, and she serves a good purpose. And at some point, she does toughen up. So I think she works as a character as well. Another example, even though there's only one season out, so I don't really, I haven't gotten a large picture of it. But the Van Helsing girl from the TV show Van Helsing, she was good. She was a badass character, but she's over the top. She definitely has, definitely can't just walk through anything and complete it. She does have some tasks she has to overcome and work for. And at times you see her struggle through it, but she's not whining, she's not crying about it. So you don't get either of the extremes, and it works. It's good, it's interesting. So these were just my thoughts on female characters, and I feel like in modern pop culture, they're often portrayed wrong. They're either some over-the-top badasses if they're trying to make up for the fact they're female, or they're whiny to give into the stereotype of female. And I think it would be much more interesting to write them just as a character. And this goes for male or female characters, it doesn't matter. Write them as characters. That's not to say you can't use their gender as an aspect of their personality, but it shouldn't be the focal point of that character. A great example would be, maybe you've got this woman who is maybe a bit charming, and she's manipulative a little bit, and she's kind of dark and twisted, and she'll do whatever she has to do to get what she wants, and what she wants is whatever, it doesn't really matter what she wants, but she'll do whatever it takes. But her most common way of going about manipulating people or getting what she wants is through sex. And that would be a really good way to tie in her gender with the character, but her gender isn't the focal point. You could do it with a male too. It probably wouldn't be as believable in a modern setting, but again, if it's a fantasy setting or sci-fi setting or some other made-up setting, if it makes sense in your world, you could do it, absolutely. But there's ways to tie that into it. Maybe you have something where you've got two characters, a male and female, and they're trapped. And maybe there's a cave-in or something, and the female is stuck, and she can't get out. But the male, because males are naturally stronger, or maybe this character specifically as a character is just extremely strong, is able to get out, and then go save her. Or if you want to make it interesting, you go just reverse it. Maybe this woman has special abilities, or she just is super fit, and this guy's kind of chubby, and he doesn't take care of himself, so she's able to save him. So you can tie in the gender aspect into it, especially in a way to create some sort of relatability or believability within your story, but it shouldn't be the focal point of the story. Anyway, I think I've said enough on the topic, so thanks for watching.